At my daughter's 11th birthday party, my mother served peanut butter cake. Chloe has a documented severe peanut allergy. She has carried an EpiPen since she was 3 years old. My entire family knew this. Within minutes, her throat started closing. Her lips swelled. She could not breathe. I was not there. I was working a double shift at the pharmacy, covering for someone who called in sick. My sister Melissa called me laughing. Actually laughing. She said Chloe was being dramatic, ruining the party, making everything about herself as usual. I did not cry. I did not scream into the phone. I told Melissa to call 911 immediately, hung up, and drove 90 miles an hour through red lights to get there. 48 hours later, my parents received an eviction notice for the house I had been paying the mortgage on for 6 years. It was supposed to be a celebration. That morning started normal. Too normal. I woke up at 5, made Chloe her favorite breakfast even though I knew she would be too excited to eat it. Chocolate chip pancakes shaped like the number 11. She picked at them, grinning, her legs swinging under the kitchen table. She had been looking forward to this party for months. My parents insisted on hosting it at their house. They said they wanted to do something special for her. I should have known better. I had been a pharmacy manager at Walgreens for 8 years by then. My name is Jennifer Morgan, and I had gotten very good at reading warning labels, terrible at reading my own family. Chloe had picked out her outfit 3 weeks earlier. A purple dress with little flowers embroidered on the collar. White sandals. She wanted to wear her hair down, even though she usually kept it in a ponytail. She looked at herself in the mirror that morning and asked me if I thought the other kids would like her. The other kids. My niece Emma and nephew Jake, Melissa's children. The golden children. The ones my parents posted about on Facebook. The ones who got the big birthday parties every year, the ones whose drawings went on the refrigerator, whose report cards earned dinner at expensive restaurants. Chloe just wanted them to like her. Just once. I told her of course they would. I was lying. I knew I was lying. But what else do you say to your 11-year-old daughter when she looks at you with those hopeful eyes? I had to work. There was no getting around it. Gerald, the assistant manager, had called in sick at the last minute. We were already short-staffed, and Saturday was our busiest day. I told Chloe I would be there by noon, that I would only miss the first hour. She said it was okay. She hugged me extra tight before I left. I remember the way her hair smelled. Strawberry shampoo. I remember thinking I should call in sick myself, should tell them to figure it out without me, should stay with my daughter on her birthday. I did not. I went to work. That decision would replay in my mind for months. My parents had never treated Chloe the way they treated Melissa's kids. Not once. When Chloe was born, my mother visited the hospital exactly 1 time. She stayed for 20 minutes. She did not hold her. She said newborns made her uncomfortable, that she would bond with Chloe later when she was older. Later never came. When Emma was born 3 years after Chloe, my mother practically lived at the hospital. She held Emma for hours. She cried when she first saw her. She posted 17 photos on Facebook in the first week. For Chloe, she posted 0. The pattern continued. When Chloe turned 5, my parents sent a card with a $20 Target gift card inside. When Emma turned 5, they threw a party with a bounce house, a petting zoo, and a magician. 70 guests. Catered food. A cake that cost more than my car payment. I had asked my mother about the disparity once. Just once. She said Emma's party was Melissa's idea, that Melissa was better at planning things, that I should not be so sensitive. I learned to stop asking. I supported them financially. That was the bitter irony in all of this. My father had lost his job in 2014. The company downsized, and at 58, he could not find another position that paid anywhere close to what he had been making. They were going to lose the house. The house I grew up in. The house that held every childhood memory I had, good and bad. Melissa could not help. She was a stay-at-home mom, and her husband Eric worked in sales, barely making enough to cover their own bills. So I stepped in. I refinanced my own mortgage. I took out a personal loan. I started paying their house payment every month. $647. Every month. For 6 years. They never said thank you. Not once. They acted like it was expected. Like I owed them. I also paid for their car insurance, their phone bill, half their groceries most months. When my father needed dental work that his insurance would not cover, I paid for it. $4,300. When my mother wanted to go on a cruise for their 40th anniversary, I helped pay for that too. $1,500. I did not go on vacations. I drove a 13-year-old Honda Civic. Chloe wore hand-me-downs from Goodwill half the time. But my parents got their cruise. They posted photos on Facebook. 37 photos. Not one included Chloe, even though we had seen them off at the airport and picked them up when they got back. Melissa was the golden child. She always had been. She was prettier, more outgoing, better at saying the things my parents wanted to hear. She married Eric right out of college. He was charming and good-looking, even if he was terrible with money. They had Emma and Jake within 3 years. Picture-perfect family. I got pregnant at 22 with a man who left before Chloe was born. I never married. I worked full-time and raised Chloe alone. In my parents' eyes, Melissa had done everything right. I had done everything wrong. And our children were treated accordingly. There were signs. Small cruelties that I told myself did not matter. When Chloe was 7, we went to my parents' house for Christmas. Melissa's family was there too. Under the tree, Emma and Jake had piles of presents. At least 10 each. Expensive toys, new clothes, electronics. Chloe had 2 presents. A used book with someone else's name written inside the cover and a pack of cheap markers. She did not complain. She sat on the floor coloring in the book while Emma and Jake screamed with excitement over their new tablets. My mother watched them with this soft smile on her face. She never looked at Chloe. When Chloe was 9, she made honor roll for the first time. All A's and 1 B. I was so proud. I called my parents to tell them. My mother said that was nice, then immediately started talking about how Jake had scored 3 goals in his soccer game that weekend. She talked about Jake's goals for 15 minutes. She never asked about Chloe's grades again. Last year, for Thanksgiving, my parents asked us to bring the side dishes. I made mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, stuffing, rolls, and a pumpkin pie. I spent 6 hours cooking. When we arrived, my mother looked at the food and said it looked fine. Just fine. Melissa had brought a store-bought pie. My mother raved about it for 20 minutes, said it was the best pie she ever had, posted a photo of it on Facebook with the caption, "My talented daughter made this beautiful dessert." Melissa had literally bought it at Kroger. I saw the sticker still on the bottom of the tin. But I kept hoping. I kept thinking things would change. That my parents would eventually see Chloe for who she was. A sweet, thoughtful, smart little girl who just wanted to be loved by her family. I kept showing up. Kept paying their bills. Kept pretending everything was okay. Chloe knew, though. Kids always know. She stopped asking why Grandma never came to her school plays. Stopped asking why we never got invited to the lake house on the weekends like Melissa's family did. Stopped asking why her birthday parties were always just me and her, maybe 1 or 2 friends from school, while Emma's and Jake's parties were huge events. So when my parents offered to host Chloe's 11th birthday party, I was surprised. Cautiously optimistic. Maybe they were finally coming around. Maybe they finally saw her. My mother called me 2 weeks before the party. She said she wanted to make it special. She asked what kind of cake Chloe liked. I told her chocolate, but I also reminded her about the peanut allergy. Chloe's allergy was severe. Life-threatening. She had ended up in the emergency room twice before, once at age 4 and once at age 7. Both times, the reaction had been terrifying. Her throat closed up within minutes. Her face swelled. She could not breathe. The EpiPen saved her life both times, but we still had to rush her to the hospital for observation and additional treatment. Everyone in the family knew. I had told them repeatedly. I sent reminder texts before every family gathering. I checked ingredient labels on everything. My mother said she understood. She said she would be careful. She said she was going to make a special chocolate cake just for Chloe, from scratch, no nuts. She sounded genuine. I wanted to believe her. I wanted so badly to believe that my mother finally cared enough to make my daughter's birthday special. I should have known better. The party was supposed to start at 10 in the morning. I had to be at work by 6. I called my mother at 7:30, just to confirm everything was still okay, that she did not need me to bring anything. She said everything was perfect. She had the cake ready. She had decorated. Emma and Jake were excited. It was going to be wonderful. I told Chloe I would be there by noon. She hugged me and said it was okay, that she understood, that she was just happy to have a real party for once. Those words. A real party for once. Like she knew all the years before had been lacking. Like she knew she had been cheated. I got to the pharmacy and tried to focus on work. But I kept checking my phone. I texted my mother at 8. "How's it going?" She responded with a thumbs up emoji. I texted Melissa at 9. "Is Chloe having fun?" No response. At 9:45, I texted my mother again. "Everything okay?" No response. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself to stop hovering. They were fine. Chloe was fine. She was probably having the time of her life. At 10:32, Melissa called me. I was in the middle of filling a prescription for a patient, but I answered anyway. I could hear noise in the background. Kids yelling. Adults talking loudly. Melissa was laughing. Actually laughing. She said, "Hey, so, Chloe's being super dramatic right now. She says her throat itches. Mom thinks she's just trying to get attention because Emma opened presents first. Can you talk to her? She's making a scene." I went cold. Put her on the phone. "She's fine, Jen. She's just." "Put her on the phone right now." I heard shuffling. Then Chloe's voice, small and scared. "Mom? Baby, what's wrong? Tell me exactly what you're feeling." "My throat itches. And my tongue feels weird. Tingly. And my lips." Her voice was getting thicker. Harder to understand. "Did you eat something with peanuts?" My heart was pounding so hard I could barely hear her answer. "I don't know. Grandma gave me cake. She said it was safe." I heard my mother in the background. "She's being dramatic. There's nothing wrong with the cake." "Chloe, where's your EpiPen?" I was already grabbing my keys, already heading for the door. My coworker stared at me. I did not care. "In my bag." "But Grandma said I don't need it. She said I'm fine." "Get your EpiPen right now. Use it." "Do you remember how?" "I think so, but..." "Use it right now, Chloe. Right now." "Then someone needs to call 911. I heard my mother's voice again, loud and annoyed. "Jennifer, you're overreacting. She's fine. She ate the cake. All the kids ate the cake. She's just trying to get attention because Emma got the first piece." "What was in the cake?" I was running to my car now, my phone pressed to my ear so hard it hurt. "Chocolate. Flour. Sugar. Butter. Eggs. The usual." "Mom. What else?" A pause. Too long. "Well, I used peanut butter in the frosting. But it's barely any. It's just for flavor. It's not like she ate a whole jar of peanuts." I could not breathe. I could not speak. I heard Chloe in the background, her voice panicked now, saying she could not breathe right, that her face felt puffy. I heard Melissa say something about Chloe being melodramatic. I heard my father say maybe we should open the windows, get some fresh air. Nobody was calling 911. "Call 911 right now," I said, my voice deadly calm. "Call them right now or I will call them myself and tell them you deliberately fed my daughter something she's allergic to." "You're being ridiculous," my mother said. She was angry now. "You're always so overdramatic about everything. She's fine. Look at her, she's..." I hung up. I called 911 myself while I was getting into my car. I gave them the address. I told them my 11-year-old daughter was having an anaphylactic reaction, that she had been given peanuts despite a known severe allergy, that the people with her were refusing to help. The dispatcher said they would send someone immediately. She stayed on the line with me while I drove. I ran 4 red lights. I did 95 miles per hour on the highway. I prayed the whole way that I would get there in time. When I got there, 12 minutes later, the ambulance was not there yet. I ran into the house. Chloe was sitting on the couch, her face swollen, her breathing labored. She was crying. Emma and Jake were standing nearby, staring. My mother was cleaning up cake plates. Melissa was on her phone. Nobody was doing anything. Chloe's EpiPen was still in her bag across the room. She had been too scared to use it. Too scared to disobey my mother, who had told her she was fine. I grabbed the EpiPen. I administered it myself. I held my daughter while we waited for the ambulance, her body shaking, her breath coming in short gasps. I stroked her hair and told her she was going to be okay. I did not look at my mother. I did not look at anyone. If I looked at them, I would have started screaming, and I could not afford to lose control. Not then. Not when Chloe needed me. The ambulance arrived 6 minutes later. They took Chloe to the hospital. I rode with her. I held her hand the entire time. The EMTs said I had gotten there just in time. Another few minutes and her airway might have closed completely. She could have died. My daughter could have died at her own birthday party because my mother decided that peanut butter frosting was more important than my daughter's life. At the hospital, they kept her for observation. They gave her additional medication, monitored her breathing, her heart rate, her blood pressure. She was stable within an hour. She would be okay. But she was terrified. She kept asking me if she had ruined the party. If everyone was mad at her. If it was her fault. I held her and told her that none of this was her fault. That she had done nothing wrong. That she was perfect and loved and safe. My mother called me 4 times while we were at the hospital. I did not answer. Melissa texted me 3 times. Is she okay? Mom's really upset. You didn't have to call 911, she was fine. I did not respond. My father called once. I answered. He said, your mother feels terrible. She didn't mean for this to happen. It was an accident. You know how she is with cooking, she just forgot. I said, she didn't forget. I reminded her 2 weeks ago. I texted her yesterday. She knew. He paused. Then he said, well, maybe she thought a little bit wouldn't hurt. You do tend to be overly cautious with Chloe. Maybe she thought you were exaggerating the severity. I hung up on him. That night, after Chloe fell asleep in the hospital bed, I sat in the chair next to her and stared at the wall. The white, sterile wall. The machines beeping softly. The 4 in my daughter's arm. And something inside me shifted. Something fundamental. For years, I had told myself that family was important. That you forgive family. That you keep trying, keep showing up, keep hoping they will change. But sitting there in that hospital room, watching my daughter sleep, I realized something. Family is not supposed to hurt you. Family is not supposed to endanger your life. Family is not supposed to make you feel small and worthless and invisible. And if they do, they are not really family at all. They are just people who happen to share your DNA. I pulled out my phone. I opened my banking app. I looked at the automatic payments I had set up. The mortgage payment to my parents' house. The car insurance. The phone bill. I canceled all of them. Every single one. Right there. It took less than 2 minutes. Then I called my lawyer. His name was David Chen. I had used him 3 years earlier to draft my will. He answered even though it was 11 at night. I apologized for calling so late. He said it was fine, asked what I needed. I told him I owned a house that my parents lived in, that I had been paying the mortgage for 6 years, that they had no legal claim to it. I asked him what I needed to do to evict them. He was quiet for a moment. Then he asked me if I was sure. I said yes. He said he would draft the paperwork first thing Monday morning. I thanked him and hung up. I did not cry. I did not feel guilty. I felt calm. Decided. Clear. For the first time in years, I knew exactly what I needed to do. We went home the next day. Sunday. Chloe was quiet the entire drive. She stared out the window. She did not ask about the party. She did not ask about her presents. She did not ask if we could reschedule. She just sat there, small and sad and silent. When we got home, I made her favorite dinner. Chicken nuggets and mac and cheese. Comfort food. She ate 3 bites and said she was not hungry. I did not push. I put on a movie, and we sat on the couch together. She fell asleep with her head on my shoulder. I stayed there, not moving, until my arm went numb. My mother called again that night. I answered. She started talking immediately, her voice high and defensive. I don't understand why you're so upset. It was an accident. I didn't know there was peanut butter in that frosting. I just grabbed a jar from the pantry. I wasn't thinking. You know I would never hurt Chloe on purpose. You knew, I said quietly. I reminded you 2 weeks ago. I texted you yesterday. You knew. I forgot. People forget things, Jennifer. You're acting like I tried to poison her. You fed her something that almost killed her. At her birthday party. While I was at work. And when she started having a reaction, you told her she was being dramatic. You didn't call 911. You didn't use her EpiPen. You let her sit there, unable to breathe, because you didn't want to admit you were wrong. She was fine. She was breathing. You're the one who made it into this big dramatic thing by calling an ambulance. Do you know how embarrassing that was? The neighbors saw everything. I laughed. I could not help it. It came out cold and sharp. You're worried about what the neighbors think. My daughter almost died, and you're worried about embarrassment. Don't take that tone with me. I'm your mother. I deserve respect. No, I said. You don't. I hung up. Monday morning, I went to work. I functioned on autopilot. I filled prescriptions, helped customers, managed inventory. At lunch, David called. He said the eviction paperwork was ready. He was filing it that afternoon. My parents would receive it by certified mail within 48 hours. He asked me one more time if I was sure. I said yes. He said okay. He also asked if I wanted to pursue legal action for what had happened to Chloe. Reckless endangerment. Negligence. Maybe even assault. I said I would think about it. He said to let him know. I thanked him and hung up. I also called my parents' mortgage company. I explained the situation. I told them I would no longer be making payments on that property. The representative was sympathetic but firm. She explained that if the mortgage was in my name, I was responsible for it. I said I understood. I said I would be selling the house. She walked me through the process. I would need to either get my parents to leave voluntarily or go through formal eviction. Then I could list it. I said I was already evicting them. She said okay. She gave me the contact information for a real estate agent who specialized in situations like this. I wrote it down. I called the insurance company next. I canceled the car insurance policy for my parents' vehicle. The representative asked why. I said it was no longer needed. She processed it without further questions. I called the phone company. I removed my parents' line from my family plan. Another 10-minute conversation. Done. I felt nothing. No guilt. No sadness. Just this calm, methodical determination. I was protecting my daughter. I was protecting myself. I was done. Tuesday afternoon, my father called. He was yelling before I even said hello. What the hell is this? An eviction notice? Are you kidding me right now? After everything we've done for you. After everything you've done for me? I repeated. What exactly have you done for me? We raised you. We gave you a home. We supported you. I've been paying your mortgage for 6 years, Dad. 6 years. I've paid your car insurance. Your phone bill. Your groceries half the time. I paid for your dental work. Your anniversary cruise. I've given you over $70,000. What have you given me? He sputtered. That's different. That's family. That's what family does. We needed help, and you had the means to help. And when I needed help, when Chloe needed help, what did you do? Silence. You fed my daughter something that almost killed her, I said, my voice shaking now. You stood there and watched her struggle to breathe, and you did nothing. You told her she was being dramatic. You told her she was seeking attention. You let her sit there, scared and in pain, because you didn't want to admit you were wrong. So don't talk to me about family. You have no idea what that word means. We made a mistake, he said, quieter now. People make mistakes. You can't throw away your entire family over one mistake. It wasn't one mistake. It was 34 years of mistakes. Chloe's birthday was just the last one. I'm done, Dad. I'm done paying for you. I'm done showing up for you. I'm done pretending you're going to change. You need to be out of that house in 30 days. We can't afford to move. We don't have anywhere to go. That's not my problem anymore. I hung up. The calls kept coming. My mother called 6 times that day. I did not answer. Melissa called 8 times. Left 4 voicemails. The first one was angry. How could you do this to them? They're our parents. They're old. They have nowhere to go. You're being cruel. The second one was pleading. Please, Jen, just talk to them. They're devastated. Mom's been crying for 2 days straight. Dad's blood pressure is through the roof. You're killing them. The third one was guilt-tripping. What would you want us to do if this happened to you? We're family. We're supposed to stick together. Chloe wouldn't want this. The fourth one was a threat. If you don't fix this, I'm never speaking to you again. And you can forget about seeing Emma and Jake. We're done. I deleted all of them without listening to them all the way through. On Wednesday, I called the real estate agent. Her name was Patricia Gonzalez. She was in her 50s, professional, no nonsense. I explained the situation. She said she understood. She had handled similar cases before. She asked if the house was in decent condition. I said yes. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in a good neighborhood. Well maintained. It would sell quickly. She said she could list it as soon as my parents were out. She estimated it would sell for around $220,000. After paying off the remaining mortgage and her commission, I would walk away with about $40,000. I said that sounded fine. She said she would send over the paperwork. On Thursday, my mother showed up at my work. She walked into the pharmacy, tears streaming down her face, her voice loud and desperate. Please, Jennifer. Please don't do this. We'll apologize to Chloe. We'll make it right. Just please, don't take our house. We'll end up on the street. Is that what you want? Your own parents homeless. I looked at her. This woman who had spent my entire life making me feel like I was not good enough. Who had treated my daughter like she was invisible. Who had almost killed her and then acted like it was no big deal. I felt nothing. You should have thought about that before you fed peanuts to a child with a peanut allergy, I said quietly. Now please leave. This is my workplace. Jennifer, please. I'm begging you. Leave. Or I'll call security. She stared at me, shocked. She had never seen me like this. Cold. Unmovable. Final. She started to say something else, but I turned away and walked into the back room. I heard her sobbing in the front of the store. I heard one of my coworkers quietly asking her to leave. I heard the door chime as she finally left. I stood in the back room, my hands shaking slightly, and took 3 deep breaths. Then I went back to work. That night, Melissa showed up at my house. I did not let her in. We talked through the screen door. She was crying too. How can you do this to them? They're old. They're scared. They made a mistake, Jen. One mistake. You're going to ruin their lives over one mistake. It wasn't one mistake, I said for what felt like the 100th time. It was a lifetime of mistakes. And I'm not ruining their lives. I'm just stopping mine from being ruined by them. What about Chloe? Don't you think she'd want you to forgive them? I looked at my sister. This woman who had been the favorite our entire lives. Who had watched our parents treat my daughter like garbage and said nothing. Who had laughed when Chloe could not breathe. Chloe almost died, I said slowly. She almost died because Mom decided frosting was more important than her life. And when she started having a reaction, you called me laughing. You told me she was being dramatic. You stood there and did nothing while my daughter's face swelled up and her throat closed. So don't you dare talk to me about what Chloe would want. You didn't care what she wanted when she was sitting on that couch unable to breathe. Melissa's face crumpled. I didn't know it was that serious. I thought she was okay. Mom said she was okay. Mom said she was okay, so you didn't check? You didn't look at her? You didn't see her face? You didn't hear her struggling to breathe? I wasn't thinking. I was helping with the other kids and... You weren't thinking. No one was thinking. Except about yourselves. Like always. I closed the door. Melissa stood on my porch for another 10 minutes, crying and knocking. I did not answer. Eventually, she left. The eviction went through. 30 days came and went. My parents did not leave. On day 31, the sheriff showed up. I was not there. I did not want to be. Patricia called me afterward. She said it had been ugly. My mother screamed at the officers. My father tried to argue about property rights, but they had no legal ground to stand on. The house was in my name. I had every right to evict them. They were given 2 hours to pack their essentials. The rest of their belongings would be placed in storage, which they would have 30 days to collect before it was disposed of. Patricia said they left in my sister's car. They were going to stay with Melissa and Eric. Temporarily. Until they figured out what to do. I felt nothing when she told me. No satisfaction. No guilt. Just this quiet sense of finality. It was done. The house went on the market the next week. It sold in 11 days. A young couple with 2 kids. They were excited. They talked about painting the bedrooms, updating the kitchen, building a swing set in the backyard. I signed the closing papers and walked away with a check for $39,872. I deposited it into Chloe's college fund. My parents tried to contact me a few more times over the next month. Emails. Letters. One time my father showed up at Chloe's school. The office called me immediately. I told them he was not allowed to have contact with her. They said they would make a note in her file. He did not come back. Melissa stopped calling after the first month. I heard through a mutual acquaintance that my parents were struggling. They were living in Melissa's basement. My father had found a part-time job at a hardware store, but it paid minimum wage. My mother was working at a call center. They were having trouble making ends meet. Melissa and Eric were struggling too, trying to support 4 adults and 2 kids on Eric's salary. Apparently, there was a lot of tension in the house. A lot of fighting. I felt a small, dark satisfaction when I heard that. Not because I wanted them to suffer, but because they were finally experiencing consequences. For the first time in their lives, their actions had consequences they could not ignore or blame on someone else. I also heard that my mother told people I had abandoned them. That I was heartless. That I had thrown them out on the street over nothing. Some people believed her. Some people called me cruel. Called me ungrateful. Called me a terrible daughter. I did not care. The people who mattered knew the truth. And the people who did not matter were not worth my energy. Chloe and I started therapy. Both of us. Separately and together. She needed help processing what had happened. The trauma of the allergic reaction. The rejection from her grandparents. The years of being treated like she did not matter. I needed help too. Help letting go of the guilt. The guilt of not protecting her sooner. Of not walking away from my family years ago. Of exposing her to people who hurt her. Her therapist was amazing. Patient. Kind. Gentle. Chloe started opening up about things I did not even know bothered her. About how she felt like she was never good enough. How she thought something was wrong with her because her own grandparents did not love her. How she spent years trying to figure out what she was doing wrong. The therapist helped her understand that it was never her. That she was not responsible for other people's behavior. That she was worthy of love just as she was. My therapist was more direct. She called my parents abusive. She said what they did was not just neglect but active harm. She said I had every right to cut them out of my life. She said protecting Chloe was not just the right choice but the only choice. She also said I needed to forgive myself. For not seeing it sooner. For staying so long. For hoping they would change. She said I did the best I could with the information I had, and now I was doing better. That was all anyone could ask. Fast forward 1 year. Chloe is 12 now. She is thriving. She made honor roll again this year. All A's. She joined the art club at school. She made 3 new friends. Real friends who invite her to their houses, who remember her birthday, who text her funny memes and inside jokes. She smiles more. Laughs more. She does not flinch when someone raises their voice anymore. She does not apologize for taking up space. Last week was her 12th birthday. We had a small party at our house. Just her 3 friends, me, and her favorite teacher, Mrs. Alvarez, who has been an amazing support to her this year. We had pizza, cupcakes from her favorite bakery, and a movie marathon. No drama. No stress. No one made her feel small. She blew out the candles on her cupcake and smiled so big it made my heart hurt. A good hurt. The kind that reminds you why you fight. I am doing well too. I got a promotion at work. Assistant Director of Pharmacy Operations. More responsibility, better pay. I was able to move us into a nicer apartment. 2 bedrooms, a balcony, a community pool. Chloe loves it. We go to therapy every week still. We talk more now. Really talk. About her feelings, my feelings, what we want our future to look like. We are building something new. Something healthy. Something that feels like what family is supposed to be. My parents are still struggling. I heard through the same mutual acquaintance that they had to declare bankruptcy last year. They lost their car. My father's health is declining. My mother is bitter, angry, constantly complaining about how I ruined their lives. Melissa is apparently at her breaking point, exhausted from supporting them, resentful that I walked away while she is stuck dealing with everything. Part of me feels bad for Melissa. She did not create this situation. But she enabled it. She stood by while they treated Chloe like garbage. She laughed when Chloe could not breathe. So my sympathy only goes so far. I do not regret my decision. Not for a second. People ask me sometimes if I feel guilty. If I wish I had handled things differently. If I think I went too far. The answer is no. I do not feel guilty. I protected my daughter. I set boundaries. I stopped letting toxic people drain my resources and my energy. I chose Chloe. I chose myself. And I would do it again in a heartbeat. There are hard days still. Days when Chloe asks about her grandparents. When she wonders if they ever think about her. When she asks if they ever loved her at all. Those conversations break my heart. I tell her the truth as gently as I can. That some people are not capable of the love we deserve. That their inability to love her says nothing about her worth and everything about their limitations. That we get to choose our family, and we choose people who choose us back. She is starting to understand. Slowly. But she is getting there. I think about that day sometimes. Chloe's 11th birthday. The phone call from Melissa. The drive to my parents' house. Walking in and seeing my daughter's swollen face, her terrified eyes, her labored breathing. I think about how close I came to losing her. How if I had been 10 minutes later, if I had not called 911, if I had listened to my mother and believed Chloe was fine, she might not be here. That thought keeps me awake some nights. But it also reminds me why I did what I did. Why I will never go back. Why I will never let anyone hurt my daughter again. Family is supposed to protect you. Supposed to love you. Supposed to keep you safe. If they cannot do that, if they actively harm you, then they are not family. They are just people you happen to be related to. And you do not owe people your loyalty just because you share DNA. You owe loyalty to the people who show up. Who protect you. Who love you without conditions. Chloe deserves that. I deserve that. And we are finally building a life where we have it. So, what do you think? Did I go too far, or just far enough? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want more stories about mothers who chose their children over toxic families, do not forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon. I've got 2 more stories queued up for you, both about the moment we realized protecting our kids means walking away from the people who were supposed to love them. Click on whichever one calls to you. Until next time, remember, family is about who shows up, not who shows up in your DNA.